Welcome to everyone. My name is Ani Agnihotri. I'm co-founder and CEO of Marshall Automation America, as well as serve as co-chair of Global USA Business Forum, as well as USA India Business Summit. And we have put together this special program with our partners, Georgia Tech CIBER, as well as Forsyth and a couple of other sponsoring organizations. This is our first event with Forsyth County and Forsyth. It's a jam-packed program. We have 10 distinguished speakers. And with this, I would like to introduce some of my colleagues who are present here in this session, my co-chair of the program, as well as Georgia Tech professor, Dr. John McIntyre. For your convenience, I am putting everybody's bio for introduction purposes on the screen, so you can see as I read it. Dr. McIntyre is a professor of management and international affairs at Scheller College of Business at Georgia Tech and executive director of Georgia Tech Center for International Business Education and Research. I have had honor of working with him for more than 16, 17 years. We have been doing these kind of programs since 2010. And Dr. McIntyre runs this national center. He's also a professor of management, strategy, and innovation in Scheller College of Business, with a courtesy appointment in international relations in Georgia Tech Samson School of International Affairs. He received his graduate education at Northeastern University, Strasbourg University, McGill University, completing his PhD at UGA. Prior to joining Georgia Tech, he was research associate and fellow at Dean Rusk Center of the University of Georgia Law School. He has published in journals such as Technology and Society, Public Administration Quarterly, International Management Review, Defense Analysis, Studies in Comparative and International Development, the Journal of European Marketing, Politique Internationally, International Executive, International Trade Journal, among others, and he has authored or co-authored dozens of books. Dr. McIntyre is also a recipient of the State of Georgia Governor's International Award in International Business Education in 2009, the French National Order of Merit, Knight, in 2009, the Georgia Tech-wide Stephen Den Faculty Award for Global Engagement in 2015. He was made honorary professor at ICN Graduate School of Business, University of Lorraine, France in 2017. He's been a consultant to numerous private and public sector organizations. Dr. McIntyre is an expert on the primary aluminum industry. He's fluent in French, Italian, and Spanish. Welcome again, John.
Thanks, and welcome on behalf of Georgia Tech to all of the participants.
Our presenting partner and moderator for this event is Mr. Alex Warner. Alex is a project manager of existing industry, presenting partner for Forsyth County and Forsyth. Alex is a project manager for existing industry. Forsyth provides economic development services for the community and serves as the lead contact for existing local businesses and new companies looking to expand their footprints. Alex focuses on meeting with companies who already have a presence in Forsyth County, as well as coordinating programs that will enhance the workforce of Forsyth area through the local school systems and colleges. Other responsibilities for Alex include managing for the Forsyth County Manufacturing Society, the International Engagement Society, the annual Manufacturers of Distinction and Leadership Awards program, and facilitating a National Manufacturing Day. Alex, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us, Ani.
Thank you
Alex.
Thank you for your continued participation and support for the last 3 years. We really appreciate it. Event coordinator for this session with me is Mr. James Hoadley. He's an associate director of Georgia Tech CIBER. We have worked extensively on these programs for the last 12 years or so. Jim brings extensive personal experience to the Georgia Tech CIBER. He lived in Japan for nearly 8 years, where he worked for Seiko Epson Corporation. He also worked as human resources manager for a Japanese-owned auto parts supplier in South Carolina before coming to Georgia Tech. He has an MBA from Georgia Tech and a graduate diploma in foreign language teaching and a BA in international studies from University of South Carolina. He is fluent in Japanese. Jim, welcome. With this, we will move on to our second segment of the program, which is session 1, And I'll hand it over to Alex.
Thank you so much, Ani. And I would like to thank everybody for taking time out of their day to spend the afternoon with us and learn about the growth and the future of economic development in not only Metro Atlanta, but Forsyth County in particular. In this first session, I've got the privilege to have with us this afternoon Mr. Alfred John. He is the chairman of Forsyth County's Board of Commissioners. Commissioner John, he was elected in 2020 to serve the 2021 to 2024 term representing District 2, which encompasses the south portion of the county. Commissioner John was elected by the Board of Commissioners to serve as chairman for 2022 and secretary in 2021. He served on the Zoning Board of Appeals after being asked to by the former County Commission Chair, Rick Swope, in 2017. And in 2020, he was voted by his fellow board members to be the chairman of the ZBA. Commissioner John's background is in human resource technology, project management, and technology implementation. He has a depth of knowledge in various applications related to human resource and has consulted with employers on process efficiencies in multiple areas of the field. Most recently, he has held the leadership role for a large Buckhead firm managing HR operations, payroll, and technology. With passion for his community, Commissioner John wants to use the knowledge he learned from the ZBA and abroad to enhance the image of Forsyth County as a great place to work, live, play, and raise a family. Other topics Commissioner John wants to focus on are growing Forsyth County's commercial base and reinforcing road and infrastructure needs. Commissioner John, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Alex, for that.
Of course. And I would also like to recognize in this panel, we'll have Kristen Morrissey, the Vice Chair of Forsyth County's Board of Education. Kristen is currently the Vice Chair of the Forsyth County Board of Education, and she has represented the South Forsyth area since 2011. Ms. Morrissey represents the school system on Forward Forsyth, a collaboration of the Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce, Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, Board of Education and Development Authority, and Lanier Tech. Forward Forsyth's team originally created to aid in the process of updating the county's economic development plan and to build on the existing partnership between these local agencies to expand business growth and employment opportunities for residents and graduates in Forsyth County. Ms. Morrissey looks forward to sharing the attributes of Forsyth County schools and how the system and the county are great options for businesses looking for new locations to expand their enterprises. Kristen, thank you so much for coming this afternoon as well.
Well, thank you for having me, Alex.
Absolutely.
Kristen, would you like us to play your video first?
Sure, that'd be a great way to kind of just highlight some of the things going on in our schools.
At Forsyth County Schools, our CTAE program is dedicated to teaching our students the skills they need to meet world-class standards and enter the marketplace as productive citizens. Forsyth County Schools offers some of the most respected CTAE career pathways in the state and is home to some of the largest career tech student organizations in the country. Students can take sequenced classes in their area of interest from 17 different career clusters. They discover their interests, earn industry credentials, and gain real-world experience all before graduating from high school. Juniors and seniors can participate in Internship Forsyth, which connects classroom learning to an engaging job opportunity. Students gain access to some of the best jobs in the community and work experience directly related to their chosen career pathway. Many employers actively seek high school students who are enrolled in Internship Forsyth. Mentorship Forsyth provides motivated students a job shadowing experience in a specific area of interest. Students explore their passion for a profession under the guidance of a trusted mentor in local businesses and organizations. Students in both programs develop occupational skills, gain valuable industry contacts, and stand out in a competitive market while earning course credit for their time. To support this work, Forsyth County Schools continues to build a strong base of business, industry, and community to ensure career development opportunities for our students. Our career development partners are an integral part of propelling students beyond the classroom and into the community. Community partnerships help students learn workplace behavior and develop specific skills within an industry. Partners work with us in multiple ways, like hosting interns, mock interviews, and our college and career fairs. Whether students plan to enter the workforce immediately or attend college, these partnerships ensure that they are prepped for success upon graduation. Our CTAE programs ensure an ongoing partnership between education, business, and industry. By bridging the classroom with the workforce, Forsyth County Schools continues to empower our students with the educational pathways that will lead to success in high school, college, and career.
Thank you for sharing that. So we feel that video gives a nice overview of the options for our students in our school systems, whether they're going to be college bound or go right into the workforce. There's something for all of our students in our community. And what's really great about that is they can find a job in our county or throughout the state of Georgia through the pathways in our school system. So that video kind of gives a nice overview and an introduction. So I thought we'd just start out with that. So if you'd like, we can go into our overview or PowerPoint. If you want to start with a lead in with a question, or how would you like to proceed from here?
Well, Kristen, thank you again for jumping on. But I feel like we should jump straight into your PowerPoint and your presentation, because it's going to highlight all of the questions that we're going to have later on in the program. So let's just jump straight in and see how we all work together and congeal in Forsyth to help grow the economic development.
Okay, Ani, do you want to put up the PDF for me, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, I am just sharing it with you. 1 second.
Okay.
All right. Can you see?
Thank you. So in Forsyth County Schools, we have an entire department called Career and College and Career Development. And again, that is because we really want to emphasize all of our students have the options, whether our students are going to go into a 4-year school after college, after high school, or right into the career force or into the military. There's something for everyone. So we really truly believe, like it says, economic development begins with education. And we have a variety of students in our schools, and we really start off, you see in the bottom there, we talk about career discovery. And that starts really, and that's a Georgia thing, it starts really down at the elementary level where we want our students to explore. So if we go on to the next level, next screen, the Perkins Act, which is funding that actually comes from the federal level, Georgia gets $45 million a year to invest in our students. And it's a 50-50 split that goes to the technical college in Georgia Department of Education. And it's very specific for those funds. And actually, as a conservative person, appreciate that that's very specifically allocated. So we have a program we call Workforce Forsyth, where we've worked with our community stakeholders, our business partners, to define what we need in our county, what we need in the state of Georgia for businesses, and what we need our students to look like when they graduate. So that defines the attributes and the skills and the jobs that are out there in the workforce, those high skill, high wage, high demand occupations. And we took all that input from our community and we've designed our Workforce Forsyth program, which has been Workforce original program, for Workforce Forsyth 2.0, which we have now basically completed, and we're in the process of updating for our next program, which will begin this year, 2022 to 2025. So if you go on to the next screen, you can see we take all that information, and that's how we develop our career pathways for our schools. And these are all of our traditional high schools and our career academy, the Alliance Academy for Information. And what this is, it shows all the different pathways we have at each of our schools. We try to make sure that each of our high schools have a little bit of something different. We don't have the exact same thing at all of our high schools. So there's something out there for every student, and we're trying to touch on all the needs of the industries out there. So if you go on to the next screen, you'll see not only do we have these career pathways at our high school, but we align them to our middle schools. So if you're at a given middle school in our system, the students get to dabble in that career pathway before they get to high school. So our programs align as the student moves up through the system, so they can find out if they might be interested in a career or a pathway, or not for that matter. So that what they do, their coursework is aligned as they go on through high school. If you go on to the next screen, you'll see here's a little bit more detail. I thought from the screen just before you couldn't see some of the specifics, but I wanted to highlight some of the really more popular pathways we have in our systems. And some of these are brand new programs that we've added by listening to our stakeholders, our students, and the businesses. For example, the advanced accounting, aerospace and flight operations, biotechnology. One of the new ones we've added this year is the drone on unmanned aircraft systems at Alliance Academy. We have aerospace there, but based on demand and interest, we've added the drone. Workforce ready. We want our students to be ready for the workforce. So that's a new one. Cybersecurity, that's been extremely popular at our Alliance Academy. Phlebotomy is a very difficult course. We have that at Lambert High School. So these are all fields that are high demand out there in the marketplace, jobs that we need to be able to fill in Forsyth County and beyond. So these are the pathways that are available at our school system. Aligning with those, you'll see on the right-hand side, we have what we call career tech or student organizations. For our students in these pathways, this is their sport of choice. Instead of playing football, or maybe in addition to playing football or soccer, they get into these career tech organizations. And that is where they apply these skills with their cohort or with their fellow peers, not only in our schools, but in the state and internationally. They get into competition. They're their clubs where they apply the skills and they learn to work together as groups and peers. And it's really great options for them to find out, again, get into depth with the programs, find out if it's really something they're interested in or not before they get to college and maybe spend their parents' money and find out it's not for them. But better yet, this is where we have those opportunities to partner with our businesses. And that's where we gain the skills from them on what our students really need to be learning in their classes. And that's that partnership we have with business to make sure our curriculum and our materials are state of the art. And if you go on to the next screen, please. This is where we get into that, the internship and the mentorships that we have with our business partners. And that's a win-win. It's not just where our students are going into those businesses and gaining knowledge. Those businesses that we partner with in our county, they are actually getting valuable information out of our students. They're giving them projects, they're giving them processes to work on, and they're actually gaining something from our students. I know I've sat in meetings where our students have done presentations and the staff and those businesses, the staff in these meetings are blown away by the level of talent and articulation of our students that they've gained by being in these clubs and being in these meetings and working in these businesses. It's a win-win for both our students, our teachers, and our businesses. Mock interviews is something we're doing right now in our schools with our local businesses. It gives those students that real practice. It gives them that feedback from the businesses on how they can improve. We've had students who have done mock interviews with our local businesses who've gone on to get jobs at those companies. So the companies can kind of get out there and test the waters and meet some of the students. So it's a great opportunity for our businesses as well. If you'll continue on, please. We also find, since our students are getting their feet wet and testing the waters on the career pathways, it engages them in the classrooms. They're really enjoying, they're finding their passions, they're exploring their talents. So our graduation rate in Forsyth County is the highest in the state, which is about 96.1, 96.4. But when kids get in a career tech pathway, their graduation rate rises even higher. You can see we're in the 99 and 100 percentile for kids that are in these career tech pathways. So this is such a successful program that we have working with our business partners and Workforce Forsyth. And continue on. We like to track it because our goal is not to just graduate our students from high school, but it's to get them into that post-secondary if they choose to further their skills. And what this chart shows, which is really, if you focus on the lime green, is getting them into college, but also getting them to graduate, not just to get into it, but finish off their post-secondary. And you can see as we get into 2020, 42% of those students were actually graduating. And that's the important part. They're finishing off. And that's what we're really excited about. I know as a parent of a recent college graduate, she's done, she's off the payroll, and she's got that college degree, and she's got a successful job and career that she loves. And had she not been through, I don't believe if she hadn't been through Forsyth County Schools in a program that she had, taking she was in FBLA, for example, with a teacher that helped her find her passion, I'm not sure she would have found the career and the pathway that she needed to find in college, because she was passionate about math and science, but she knew she didn't want to be an engineer. but she had the pathway of finance at Lambert with a teacher that helped her learn that's what she wanted to do. So she ended up going to Georgia Tech. Everybody assumes for engineering, but no, she went for business finance. She went to the College Scheller, and she loves her job now in finance. So continue on to the next screen. In the end, you'll see Forsyth County is a great place to move a business or come, because look at the college graduates, look at the bachelor's degrees. Almost 35% of our population has a bachelor's degree. Not that that's necessary for everything, but it really shows we have an educated workforce, and it's a great place to bring your business. And the final, next screen. We also make it really easy for our businesses to connect with us. On our website, we have our section separated out right for career tech. We make it very easy for them to work with us. We have a lot of opportunities, advisory committees, the mentorships, the internships. We work with our business partners, and we couldn't do the work we do without them. It's a valuable resource, and we're here to work for them to make sure our students graduate and are ready to work for the businesses in the careers that are out there, the high demand, high pay. We're here to make it work. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Commissioner John, would you like to unmute your video?
Yes, good. Well, Kristen Morrissey did an excellent job of laying out what the school system is, the excellence in the school system, and that goes within the theme of what Forsyth County is. Speaking for myself, I've lived in Forsyth County for the last 20 years. I've raised my family. I have 2 children, both of whom grew up here, went through the excellent school system, and both of them are have moved on with their lives. They've gone on to college, and they're very successful in life. And part of that is because of the school system, but also because of the community that we live in. We live in a very vibrant, diverse, safe, and welcoming community. And we're leaders in many ways. If you do a little bit of research on Forsyth County, it is often touted as one of the healthiest counties in the state of Georgia. Not many can say that. We're also a very safe community where public safety is a priority. We invest in public safety, whether it's law enforcement, police, fire, and other emergency services. We also have one of the lowest crime rates in the entire North Metro region. The county is very, very well managed. It's a customer service driven county. And it's kind of important to understand the leadership structure of the county. So there are 5 of us who are in the board of commissioners. So think of that as the board of directors within a corporation. So we have oversight responsibilities, we have budget responsibilities, but right below that, you have a CEO of the county. We call them a county manager, and our county manager is a gentleman named Kevin Tanner. He runs the day-to-day operations of the county, and underneath him, you have 2 deputy county managers. If you look at their bios, it's quite impressive who he has hired and recruited. One of the deputy county managers used to be our former CTO. So we have excellent talent right at the very top, and that flows all the way down. We also have some of the lowest taxes in Metro Atlanta. That draws a lot of people and some of the best folks to come and move into Forsyth County. So overall, it's a really small town feel with world-class amenities and great healthcare as well. We have one of the better hospital systems here, Northside Forsyth, and it continues in excellence. It continues to grow. Every time I turn around, they're building an extra floor on top or building other structures around it. We also have a world-class parks and trail system, which I'll talk about in a minute. But some would say the centerpiece of Forsyth County is also a large 60,000, I think it's about 60,000 acre lake. It's quite the draw. It's beautiful. It's a place where people go for recreation as well, whether it's for boating or other, or just to spend some time there by the water. We have 2,819 acres of parks. So when I talked about world-class parks, we have about 25 or 26 parks. So you can see that we've invested in a community. We also have a trail system, about 51.5 miles of trails. We have a small bit of connectivity left, which when that's completed, from the city of Atlanta all the way up to Forsyth County in north, there'll be about 73 connected miles of trails. Within the park system, we also have a lot of recreation activity. So it's not just passive parks, but we have a lot of fields and tennis courts, basketball courts, soccer fields, and so on. And some of it is programmed as well. Our Parks and Recreation Agency has been named Agency of the Year by the Georgia Recreation and Park Association. So you can see that excellence continues throughout our system, throughout our county. Kristen talked about the school system, but that also lends to very highly educated workforce. She pointed to the education level, bachelor's degree and more. I will tell you that about 2/3 of the population in Forsyth County are degreed individuals. That is a very high bar for anyone to aspire to. So any other community aspire to. If you look at specific areas in Forsyth County, such as South and West Forsyth, you will find a higher percentage of educated population, as well as a large number of people in the science and technology space. So you have this great workforce, but you also have workforce that lends towards where a lot of companies are going. The average household income in the South Forsyth area is about $170,000. That's a stunning number. And the average home price in Forsyth County alone is somewhere in the $450,000 to $500,000 range. So you can see that excellence the excellence in Forsyth County also draws great families and great people to live and work here. In the entire county, the unemployment rate is only about 1.5%. Again, 1.5% in the entire county, compared to statewide, it's about 3.9%. We also have a lot of mixed-use developments. When we talk about mixed-use developments, all of us commissioners are focused in building a mix of residential. So there's something for everyone, whether it's a few apartments or townhouses, small houses, large estates. You have some great golf communities that are world-class. I know that term world-class is often overused and becomes cliche, but if you were to ever take a ride with me through some of these communities, you'll see they're just excellent. We're also looking at, places for people to settle for the long haul. So, focusing on life from, inception to retirement and aging in place, so we're looking at the long-term health of the area as well. The word is clearly out. If you look at any of the data, you'll see that Forsyth County has become a highly sought out community for people to move and raise their families. I was actually surprised to see one little data point, which is the average household size is 3.8. That's a fairly significant number. It's not just couples, but it's families with 2, 3, 4 kids. And that to me is a very healthy number. From the business side, the county leadership is very focused on ensuring smart growth policies. We make sure that the quality is great, but we also are focused on ensuring that quality remains, not just for now, but for generations to come. This also means that we're strategically planning for our future needs today. We conduct meetings regularly with the Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce, the Development Authority, the State of Georgia Department of Economic Development, as well as other advocacy groups. And that is to determine how we best pave the way for great commercial development. To surmise, we listen and we act. When businesses come to us to locate in Forsyth County, occasionally we get a high-profile, high-investment commercial project that is brought to our attention. And we ensure that it receives white glove treatment and we do all we can to prioritize it through the application and the development process. And we also have a person that is assigned to the project and will ensure its success through completion. Those are some unique things that we have to offer in Forsyth County. We continue to invest in infrastructure, and between the state and county, we have close to $1 billion of commitments for roads, sewers, and other infrastructure needs over the next decade. We are also working to ensure that we'll be able to meet the future water needs of our county. So this year, we will start construction on our very own water intake facility from the Lake Lanier. This water intake facility is a major milestone for our county. So water, sewer, roads, all of these are critical infrastructure needs. And we focus on high-speed internet as well, broadband. So one thing that I'm very proud of is how forward-thinking we are and how we adapt to needs. So let me cite one example in conclusion. During the pandemic in 2021, the vaccine was introduced in January, and we encountered some challenges in delivery, as did everybody else worldwide. But our county, we asked the state of Georgia whether we could take the lead in the delivery of the vaccines in our county. And as soon as we got that approval, within 24 hours, our staff stood up a website to accept appointments. Our emergency management team coordinated medical and allied health staff from local hospitals, volunteers, law enforcement, and just a number of other folks to deliver vaccines to the public at a very, very rapid pace. A local college used their premises to stage the events, and it was very, very well received by the public. People are actually driving here from other areas to avail themselves of the vaccine. So I'm personally very proud of that meaningful achievement. I'm excited for the year ahead and honored that the folks in this program are considering Forsyth County. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me directly. My email address is ajohn@forsythco.com. Again, that's ajohn@forsythco.com, and we will do everything we can to help move your project forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Commissioner John, and thank you so much, Kristen, for joining us this afternoon and giving a great rundown on how we operate on the economic development level and how for Forsyth we work together with all the major entities in the county as a true partnership to help grow this county and shape it strategically. And thank you both for taking the time this morning or this afternoon.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Ani to introduce Dr. McIntyre.
Sure. I just have a request to the speakers of session 1 and other speakers that we have all the Q&A in our 4th session. So, please stay with us and join us towards the end of the program. Don't leave the program till Q&A session is over. With this, I am again honored to introduce Dr. McIntyre. I've gone through his introduction bio, and I would hand over the second session to John.
Thank you, Annie. A pleasure to be working together again. And indeed, Forsyth County is one of the most impressive counties in the southeast of the United States. So for session number 2, we're trying to sort of go beyond having heard the achievements of the county. We're now trying to gain some understanding into what are some of the foundational roots for the recipe to achieve success in economic development. And to help us understand and put it in context, we have 3 speakers, and let me introduce them in the order of presentation. The first one is Mr. Adam Bruns, whom I've known for quite a while, managing editor of Site Selection, the magazine since February 2002. He has written hundreds of stories for Site Selection, visited hundreds of companies and communities around the globe in trying to understand what are the foundational roots for success for a community to establish itself as a world-class community. He's a native of St. Louis, grew up in Kansas City, an alumnus of Knox College. He has resided in many different places, knows the US inside out, from Chicago to Mid-Coast Maine to Savannah, Georgia, to Lexington, Kentucky, to Greater Atlanta. So Adam will be making a presentation from the vantage point of site selection. Next, we will be joined by Mr. McDonald, Tim McDonald, president of Lanier Technology College. We're very grateful that he could free up and join us. He is in his 38th year at Lanier Technical College. I think we share nearly a similar number of years working in the university system or the college system of the state of Georgia. He currently provides leadership and vision for all college operations at Lanier Technical College. 25 years at the college. He started as an instructor in the field of machine tool technology and probably can enlighten us in the important nature of really training technicians and apprentices for the needs of newcomers in manufacturing and other distribution operations to the county. And then Miss Donna Drake, our third speaker. It's a pleasure to welcome you, Donna. She is head of the Core Labs US, an Alpharetta site manager for Solvay Specialty Polymer. Solvay is a company that has been in the state of Georgia for many years. It's originally a Belgian company. And Donna herself is a deeply experienced manufacturing manager with a long history of experience and practice in the field of in the chemicals industry. So it's a pleasure to welcome you. She's a graduate of Lafayette College in Chemical Engineering and the University of Maryland University College MBA, a school I know well and with which we work quite a bit at Georgia Tech. Welcome, Donna. We have a limited amount of time and each of you bring important features and shed important light on the issues at hand. So without further ado, we'll start with Adam. Adam, welcome.
Thank you, John. It's really a pleasure to be with all of you today, and especially with these two panelists. I'm a journalist and I learn a lot from listening to people like Mr. McDonald and Ms. Drake. So I will try to keep my comments to a minimum so I can start typing and making notes. My connections to Forsyth County, our art director, Scott Larson, has lived in Cummings since 1991. Certainly we've covered our share of projects in the magazine. I've tried to play the rolling hills of Countryland Golf Course without much success. And I've been camping with a group of friends and their kids at War Hill Campground at the lake for a dozen years or so until our only child went off to Statesboro, Alex's alma mater, earlier this year. I'm managing editor of Site Selection, have been here for 20 years next month. And before that, did a lot of reporting on all kinds of topics in Kentucky and beyond, from golf to moving a library, but I focus on economic development for the better part of 25 years. If you could move to the next slide, please. Our magazine has been around a lot longer than that. It's been around since 1954, started the same year as Sports Illustrated and Playboy. So we like to think we're in good company. We were founded by a Georgia Tech alumnus, McKinley Conway, class of 1940. He started at Georgia Tech as a 15-year-old freshman, graduated in 41 with degrees in aeronautical engineering, went to work for NASA, served as a state senator, helped write the legislation that created the MARTA system, in fact. And he started being interested in regional industrial development in the early 50s and was kind of tapped to lead an early organization called the Southern Association of Science and Industry. It evolved into other associations. We still manage an association that's kind of has that in its legacy, which is the Industrial Asset Management Council. That's one of the things we do here at Conway Data, which is our parent company. Our magazine has a global circulation of 41,000. Historically, those are directors of corporate real estate for big companies. Over the years, it's evolved to be any C-suite executive or any departmental executive that has some sort of responsibility when it comes to location decision-making for facility investment. We think we're the gold standard. I was told that a couple days ago by someone I was talking to in terms of covering corporate location strategy from a journalism perspective. and from thought leadership in economic development on both sides of the equation. We also have an analytics division, an events division that it's going to put on a World Forum for FDI in Edinburgh, Scotland in May, and our association management. One of the things we maintain that's unique to site selection, and we think is unique in the world, is a proprietary database called the Conway Projects Database, where we track facility investment projects from private sector companies. If they qualify for it, if they meet one of three criteria: at least $1 million invested, at least 20 new jobs created, or at least 20,000 new square feet of space. Any one of those criteria, and of course, many of them meet all three, as the Rivian project in Greater Atlanta would testify, that meet it and beyond. Next slide, please. One of the many rankings we publish throughout the year is our business climate rankings, which publish every November. You can see here the results. Excuse the fuzzy appearance. Georgia was second this year by a very small margin, after leading the way in the business climate rankings for 8 straight years. We always ask our survey respondents, who are both site selection consultants as well as the corporate end users those consultants serve, about what matters most to them. And it's certainly a question I get a lot from mainstream media delving into the business of site selection. You probably aren't surprised to see workforce skills at the very top there. And it's reassuring to me and to anybody in business to hear the comments from Kristen about just the really proactive programs that Forsyth County is pursuing. I just spent a year working as part of a fellowship on career and technical education, covering a lot of topics related to CTE and really digging into it myself. So I know from having surveyed the national landscape that you're pursuing some things that are real points of pride and leadership. You can see transportation infrastructure is right there at number 2 as one of the most important things. It actually moved up this year. Certainly everybody's hoping for improved transportation infrastructure as the result of various federal legislation. Just this morning, you'll be interested to know, the American Transportation Research Institute released their yearly list of top truck bottlenecks. And from 300 locations they looked at using terabytes of data, Greater Atlanta had not only 2 of the top 10 bottlenecks, but 6 of the top 21. So we had like 28% of the most congested bottlenecks just in our metro area. I would say that means that a place like Forsyth County can offer some sweet relief from that congestion in a number of ways, especially with the live, work, play approach that you're taking, and not to mention the $1 billion in infrastructure improvements that Chairman John mentioned. We asked survey respondents to list some factors that are behind their lists of the best states for business. Things that they tell us are things like proximity to ports, ease of working with municipalities, and taxes. In fact, taxes come up a lot. They want to know about overall operating expenses. They want to know about regulatory policies and utility costs. And one executive says, increasingly, the cost of living for employees ranks higher than I've seen before. They want candor and transparency from their local and state officials, one of whom said, lack of which is a deadly sin. They want to see quality of education, especially K through 12 and technical education, and a pro-business attitude. They want to see workforce training programs and speedy approvals when it comes to permitting. All things that it appears Forsyth County is pursuing aggressively. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, Georgia's had some momentum as a state. This is the cover of actually a custom economic development publication that we do with the Georgia Department of Economic Development that we just published a couple months ago. The state finished number 3 in the executive portion of those business climate rankings I mentioned. The momentum is undeniable based on some of these astronomical numbers we're seeing in terms of, over nearly $11 billion in project investments in one fiscal year. And interestingly, that nearly 3/4 of them are outside Metro Atlanta, with a lot of concentration in automotive, advanced manufacturing, software tech, logistics, and food processing, many of the areas that Forsyth County is also targeting. There's a real power in this state and in this region to the airport and to the port, which just reported another record haul of container units this morning. It was their 18th straight month of record container handling. And just as important, increasingly important for them, as you may know, they're putting up pop-up yards for their container handling all over the Southeast to try and handle the volume. And of course, part of their network too is the inland port system. And I think, something that bodes well, you wouldn't think of Forsyth County as connected to the port, but obviously the whole state's economy is. And there will be an inland port coming to Northeast Georgia, just north of Gainesville, that I think is, you may have to get around a little bit of Lake Lanier, but it's definitely important to the overall region to have that inland port served by Norfolk Southern in close proximity. And I think that may have some positive influence on the county. And there's mega projects that are happening in the overall region as well. Things like I mentioned, the new Rivian announcement will have a kind of an exclusive peek into that story and how it unfolded in our next issue. Not to mention the, just up 85 there, that SK Innovation battery plant that's so large it seems to follow the curve of the earth as you travel along I-85 up there. Next slide, please. In looking at some of what's been happening in Forsyth County, certainly we've tracked a few projects over the last few years from some of the companies you see here across a lot of different industry sectors. And these do not mention the longtime large employers that are there, of course, whose expansions may be more incremental in terms of adding headcount to existing facilities. But I think it was really, and I'll mention more of this in a little bit, but just the move to join the Atlanta Regional Commission last year really kind of symbolizes the transition of the region to being part of the larger Metro Atlanta area. Certainly our project counts, while we try to capture, we think it's a really positive indicator. It doesn't capture everything. Like I said, that incremental headcount, as well as your team's strong work in business retention and expansion. And I find that's true across the country whenever I talk to regional economic developers, is that, those 116 visits that the Forward Forsyth team made last year to businesses, they constitute, not only a treasure trove of insight for the county, but they send a really major signal of support and appreciation to each and every one of those employers. The target industries, as I said, align really well with the states. Although I always want to add a caveat that you don't want to over target. When opportunities come, you listen and you adapt and you work with them, as Chairman John was saying, with the white glove treatment. Trends in thriving communities that I'm seeing are increased diversification of employment base and kind of hand in hand with increasing diversity of population. And Forsyth County, like Gwinnett and other counties, the diversity is part of its dynamism. Now there's more than 250,000 people in the county, over 15% Asian, nearly 10% Latino or Hispanic, almost 5% Black, and a foreign-born population of 17.5%, which to me is really intriguing in terms of how we track connections in the world of foreign direct investment, how you can offer a landing pad for entrepreneurs from other places. And again, the transportation infrastructure investment, I think, is a key part of the promise of the county going forward, as well as the quality of life and things like the town center projects in Cumming, at Halcyon and Coal Mountain Town Center, that you hope have office or co-working components to them, as well as all the restaurants and shops. The work from home, we could go to the next slide, please, my final slide. The work from home trend is obviously here to stay, or a hybrid approach. And with families and individuals moving to smaller towns and suburbs since the onset of the pandemic, and some of them realizing they're not going to go back, I think the community is in a sweet spot. When I think about looking at Forsyth County tomorrow, you know, one of the things I brought up in my research was this incredible map that you make available, showing the data and the zoning data throughout the county. And, you know, I started imagining how that has changed and how it's probably going to change in the future in terms of, you know, looking to bring in more corporate and industrial sites that are ready for development. You obviously have more than 36 new developments, office, flex developments, 3 million square feet of space coming. So that's a great start. I think it's going to be important to highlight those talent and training assets from the high schools right through to the higher education institutions. I see great links between the agritourism that's in the region already and, you know, sectors that the state is focusing on as well as locally, and bioscience and food and beverage innovation. And I see the role of Forward Forsyth as really streamlining that economic development process so that the corporate prospect is not having to navigate a bunch of layers. They have a go-to one-stop shop is the phrase of choice, and it can work to their advantage. I think being always aware that you're in a national and global competition as well as collaboration is going to be key for the county going forward. And again, that benefiting from the work from home and hub spoke workspace trends is going to be again a sweet spot for the county. I saw in the census records that the average commute time there is over 33 minutes. I'm guessing that's gone down significantly in the last 2 years. I'll be curious to see. And then last but not least, the phrase I used at the bottom of this slide is something that I encountered in reporting on a community in Alberta, actually. And this was a similar thing. It's an outskirt community outside Edmonton. And he said, we want to go from a bedroom community to a headroom community. And there's kind of a couple sentences of that. First, if you just look at a map and you see there's that county just kind of nestled into the heart of that V of interstate corridors along 85 and 75. And, you know, you're literally offering a growing region a place to breathe. You're also offering headroom, not just in the sense of space and room to move around, but in terms of jobs where you use your head, jobs connected to the type of brain power and creation and innovation that everyone wants to be around. And my final slide, you'll see my contact information. Happy to entertain any questions at the end of this session or anytime. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Adam, for really indicating to us how we move from a bedroom community to a headroom community in the case of Forsyth and other counties in Georgia and elsewhere. Insightful presentation, very grateful you took the time. And questions and answers, we have saved time at the end of the total program under the heading of Fireside Chat. So if you can wait and stay with us until that time, we're going to have a lot of questions to ask in the wake of your presentation. We next move to Tim McDonald, who heads Lanier Technical College, one of the key pieces really in terms of attracting direct investment, whether foreign or domestic, into the county. So Tim, it's a great pleasure to see you again. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. McIntyre, and it's my honor to be here. And I do have about 5 or 6 slides, but before I get into it, I just want this group to understand that I am from Northeast Georgia, born and raised in Hall County. My mom was born and raised in Forsyth County. And in my time as a child and my 38 years at Lanier Tech, I've had the great pleasure to watch Forsyth County grow from essentially a very agricultural community to, gosh, one of the most progressive in the state of Georgia, Southeast. We just know that Forsyth County is just a bloom and a field of flowers. They're just a bloom that stands out. It's our largest county that we serve and most affluent in terms of household income. So with that, if you could pull the PowerPoint up, we'll jump right into that. But I did have to give my perspective of Forsyth County, and thank you for letting me do that. So Lanier Technical College, founded in 1964, by a regional group that included folks from Forsyth County. First graduating class, 1966. If you do the math, I was not in the first graduating class. I was actually in the 16th graduating class at Lanier Tech. So our Forsyth campus opened in 1998, two buildings, and we opened a third building, which includes a conference center where we host a lot of local regional conferences. It was opened in 2010. We are one of 22 technical colleges in the system of Georgia. And unlike our partners with the University System of Georgia, we're actually governed by the executive branch of the state. So we're part of the governor's office. The next slide, I think, will kind of clear up why we are in the executive branch. We've got a mission statement. I didn't want to put it on here. It has 72 words in our mission statement, but there's really only two that matter, and that's workforce development. So that's our mission. So you can think of the technical college system of Georgia as that workforce development branch of Georgia's government. So we've got us and 21 other colleges throughout the state, and we all have a service delivery area. Ours has 7 counties in Northeast Georgia, Forsyth being obviously a major player in that. And our mission has been workforce development since day one. We were founded on workforce development, and Adam shared the slide where what are the things that are important to companies now? And of course, workforce development was number one. So the way we see it, you cannot have economic development without workforce development. And Lanier Tech is so proud to provide that workforce development opportunity for Forsyth County and all of our service delivery area. At Lanier Tech, we do not have any programs of study. We have 46 separate programs of study. All of those programs of study meet job needs within our area. So in other words, we don't have any programs of study where our students cannot get a job and begin a great career within our Northeast Georgia area. Now, a lot of the skills obviously are transferable across, a wider range, but we are serving the needs of our local communities. So for the next slide, please. And we do workforce development in 3 key ways. First of all is our credit programs. So we can offer up to an associate's degree, which includes that traditional general education, core component, English, math, psychology, history, but that also goes along with the technical training, whether it be in computer information systems, allied health, nursing, accounting, welding, mechatronics. So we have those opportunities. We have a shorter pathway. We call them diplomas, where we take out all of the general education, college type courses and focus strictly on skills training, and then certificates, which tend to be a smaller slice of our skills training. What I would encourage this group to think of when they think of Lanier Tech, think of the technician level jobs. That's what Lanier Tech is producing. Our programs produce technicians, those that are on the floor solving problems, troubleshooting, diagnosing, creating solutions, installing solutions. So that's our largest population. Here at the college, we'll average 4,800 students in any particular semester. We'll see about 6,000 students unduplicated in any academic year. Another area where we focus on workforce development is our adult education, and that's our high school equivalency preparation. Many people know that as GED, but it's really high school equivalency preparation. I will say we do not have a large population in Forsyth County because Forsyth County school system is such an excellent school system, and they get their students to the finish line, as has been stated in a previous panel discussion, where we do see a very robust enrollment is in our English language learning program. As Adam mentioned, Forsyth County is very international. So we offer English language attainment at no cost to qualifying students. And any one of our classes may have 7 or 8 nationalities sitting in that classroom together, and they're all working to become more proficient in English communication. I will tell you this, we have a lot of professional people who are in that class just to increase their proficiency in English. Also, a lot of spouses of professional people who are working in the community. Their spouses come so they can better communicate in the community with their children's teachers and things of that nature. Very robust, anywhere from 300 to 500 students per year in our ELL program at the Forsyth campus. And citizenship, we work with a lot of students to work toward their citizenship. So just want this group to understand that we have that resource available in the community. The other area, economic development, that's our continuing education, professional development, training, and then customized training. We've done a tremendous amount of customized training with several of the companies in Forsyth County. One in particular really wanted to improve their company's problem-solving skills. So we actually worked on a professional development program for leaderships, for their leadership, to really get them to change the mindset toward empowering the employees. So very unique program as companies are transitioning to become more and more efficient, more and more competitive in an industrial environment. It's becoming evident that the employees are playing a more key role now than ever. I put industrial ammonia refrigeration there. That's actually taught at our Hall campus, but we are the only industrial ammonia refrigeration training center in the South. And those of you that know logistics and food storage, food safety, that's very, very integral to food safety, the quality of our food. And we'll see about 400 or 500 students a year nationwide. Even some international countries have sent people for our training here. Very, very unique, very, very specialized. Again, think in terms of technician level. If a company's concerned about where they're going to get their general day-to-day workforce, that's Lanier Tech's job, is to help prepare that workforce. So next slide, please. And obviously our strategic partners, and I will go ahead and make this assertion that this works in Forsyth County because of partnerships and collaboration. And it's been mentioned earlier that we have such great partners, but Forsyth County, Lanier Tech, and you can see some other folks there, Forward Forsyth, which is, the chamber, and Forsyth County government. Everybody knows their role. We get the right people at the table when we're planning events, when we're planning strategies. We participate in Forsyth County school systems planning strategies. They participate in ours. So it works because there is a community there that's invested in the community, and they actually make a very tremendous effort to continue that spirit of community, that spirit of collaboration. And Forsyth County knows what kind of county it wants to be. Adam had mentioned, headroom. Forsyth County wants those type of jobs that are high tech, degree of automation. We need very skilled workforce. Obviously, healthcare is becoming more and more of a headspace industry. So we work very closely with Northside Hospital, Kennesaw State University. Actually, it's a transfer program. Our engineering program transfers to Southern Poly at Kennesaw State University. So we have that pathway for those students who can take some classes in Forsyth County and then transfer and continue their education. We have been on several grant applications with Georgia Tech through the National Science Foundation. We're looking at 2 now It's going to be in chip manufacturing. And then there's another grant that Georgia Tech is looking at to address how do we transfer, skills and knowledge from an aging population to a much younger population, especially in the realm of construction, welding, and some of those traditional trades. And Lanier Tech is going to be very happy to work on that with Georgia Tech, and we will certainly play our role in that. That one's relatively new, just popped up in the last couple of days. I do want to mention Georgia Quick Start. So Georgia Quick Start is a discretionary funded entity of the Technical College System of Georgia, and they work hand in hand with the Georgia Department of Economic Development. The Quick Start mission is to provide free training for qualifying companies, whether you're a newly located company or an expanding company. And a couple of the qualifiers for that program is the amount of capital investment in the community and the number of new jobs. So we work hand in hand with Quick Start. We are a partner. Again, they work very closely with the Department of Economic Development and the local community economic development team, Slade Gullidge and Alex Warner, who are on this meeting as well. Literacy Forsyth, that's those English language learners, or those folks who for some reason were unable to get that high school equivalency diploma the traditional way, to get them reintroduced into the workforce. And as Adam mentioned, that Forsyth County has moved into the Atlanta Regional Commission. However, the workforce development activities still are flowing through WorkSource Georgia Mountains, which is part of the Georgia Mountains Regional Commission. I will say Alex Warner on this moderated a previous session, works very close with WorkSource Georgia Mountains, as Lanier Tech does, to put together very specific training opportunities for local businesses. And then, of course, we engage with all sectors of the business community. So every program we have at Lanier Tech has a program advisory committee where we bring in subject matter experts from industry to look at our curriculum, to look at our equipment, and everything we do to make sure we're staying true to our mission and meeting the workforce development needs of our local community. Next slide, please. And then I will wrap up with a few initiatives. We've started an Associate of Science in Nursing. We have shortened our nurse aid program. We've compressed it into 8 weeks. That's just to get more people into the healthcare system. You see some other topics there that we're really focused on. I do want to spend a moment on apprenticeships. And Lanier Technical College is a US DOL registered apprenticeship sponsor. So that means if a company would like to participate in an apprenticeship, Lanier Tech is the sponsor. The company does not have to deal with the Department of Labor. We are the intermediary, and we do a lot of that work on the front end. We just need companies who are interested in it, and will sign the agreement that they will provide the on-the-job learning. Lanier Tech will provide the related technical instruction. We are working currently very closely with the German American Chamber of Commerce to map out our curriculum so it matches that, so German-based companies can actually get a dual credential. We can provide apprenticeships where they can get credentialed through the U.S. Department of Labor and through the German American Chamber of Commerce. So it's been mentioned, one-stop shop. Well, Lanier Tech is your one-stop shop for workforce developments to include apprenticeships. So, and Associate of Engineering, that's something we certainly want to expand and grow, and we think that's just a perfect fit for Forsyth County and the headroom jobs that we're trying to create there. So Dr. McIntyre, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Tim, really for highlighting the keystone role of Lanier Tech College. And I'm really appreciative that you mentioned the Quick Start program and the apprenticeship program, because my center is really keenly interested in questions relating to international apprenticeship for technicians at the floor operations level. We next, thank you very much. We next turn to Donna Drake. And again, Donna, thank you so much for being with us today. I believe I've met you before. Solvay is a great company known to all of us globally, but in the Southeast region of the United States. So it's a pleasure to have you to tell us more about how you are implanted, as it were, in the region.
All right, thank you, John. I do appreciate everyone for inviting Solvay, and particularly me. I have been with Solvay now for almost 32 years, but not here at this location. I've been in Forsyth County now for 5 years, and I can say that I'm happy to say I live, work, and play in Forsyth County. So if you'd like to start the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as you can see that really this is between Solvay and Forsyth County, a 30+ year relationship. So if you can move to the first slide. So Adam had mentioned in the site selection a number of things. Is why would we invest in such a place, or why would we come to Forsyth County? At the time, we were actually Amoco, and Amoco had just purchased Union Carbide, and they were trying to consolidate their organizations from in New Jersey, Chicago, Connecticut, and they were looking at 3 different sites in which to create this new cultural environment. And they wanted to put an R&I site either in Chicago, Baltimore, or Atlanta. Certainly from a weather perspective, I would rather be in Georgia anytime than in Chicago this time of year, but certainly there was many other things that really contributed to the decision to move here. Many of them that were also mentioned by Adam. First of all, there was land availability. This was back in the late 80s, and Forsyth County was mainly a rural county at that time. Even though I wasn't located here, I remember when we first opened, and on McFarland Road, there were just a number of horse farms. So I remember going past the horse farms on our way to the Solvay site. So there was a lot of land. We also weren't very far from Atlanta. We're very close to the international airport. So those things really contributed a lot to making this decision to move here. You look at the cost of living at the time, as well as even some of the work recruitment opportunities. We had a good relationship with Georgia Tech before, which we've only strengthened over the years. It was a lot lower investment to put a site here in Forsyth County in Georgia. And we also had the lower taxes. The building was completed in 1990. And one of the things that some of my predecessors have mentioned is that we really considered Solvay was a Forsyth pioneer, because we did bring a large innovative R&D center here to what was at that time a rural county, and really brought about part of the social change with our diverse workforce. And I wanted to mention that certainly right now we have about 420 employees at the site, and we're represented by more than 23 countries. So it really is an inclusive site. And I think that's what's true even of Forsyth County today, is how much we appreciate diversity around us. So if you can go ahead, move to the next slide. So really what keeps us here? You know, we had a lot of reasons to build, but why have we built our roots here? Really, we've had a great relationship with the Forsyth Chamber. I think I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have a good relationship with Alex Warner and James McCoy. They've done a lot for us at Solvay. We're also a very big partner with Forsyth County Schools. These are our employees of the future. One of the things that we do is we have a societal actions committee here at Solvay, where we have an education committee, we have a green committee to try and keep things environmentally sound, have a wellness committee, and we also have a solidarity committee where we're working with the community. But certainly that education committee does a lot of STEM tours with the elementary schools. You can imagine teaching children that are in 5th grade about what does it take to make a polymer. And just to get that interest up when in the younger ages, but then also continuing that on with the high school manufacturing pathways, that they're coming here to our site and taking a look at what can I do in the future. I've also seen a lot of cooperation with our county. I have had Commissioner John here to the site and take a look around and see what we're doing for the future. We've also had the assistant county manager here. We're just trying to have as much cooperation as we can within the county. We're also part of the South Forsyth CID. That's the Community Improvement District. So really working very hard with John Antoine to make a very desirable looking place to South Forsyth, and continue to bring in people into the future and say this is a great place to be. I mentioned about our Societal Action Committee with being a community neighbor. We invest a lot. In fact, this coming weekend, we have a group of Solve employees that are going to be working on a Habitat for Humanity house. We're very involved with the United Way. We've made a lot of bean soup for some of the food pantries. We've done gardens. And I think the important part here is what keeps us here in Forsyth County is really that interconnection between the government, business, the community, and the schools. And that really is kind of that interconnectedness, which also helps Solve want to invest more in the Alpharetta site. Certainly Solve has continued to invest millions in the Alpharetta site each year. In fact, we expect another expansion this coming year. Like I said, we're about 425 people. We are expecting a 20 to 25% increase within the next 12 to 18 months, which is significant for us. It's not, it's new jobs for the county, not a new company, but certainly new jobs for the county. And also because of the investment that we're making, we're also hiring many contractors to help build the new equipment for the future, the new buildings for the future. So it's really quite exciting to be here at Solve within Forsyth County. Go to the next slide. So really, what ensures our future? I had mentioned that we are looking at expansions. We do have the room for growth here at this site. We had 62 acres. We're surveying it today to see how we can expand. We also have the expanding infrastructure in Forsyth County. So that includes, they're going to have some additional lanes on McGinnis Ferry Road right outside of where we are here, making it easier for our people to get to and from work. So we're excited about that. We have great people. We have great people on our site. We have a great pipeline for future employees. We had mentioned that we're working a lot with the school system, trying to get kids interested in science and technology when they're in elementary school. But I just met this week with Forsyth high schools to try and develop some internships for the future. We also have internships for people that are over at Georgia Tech. So really having that pipeline here in Forsyth County. I think we're going to continue to be a good neighbor. I mentioned that about just really interweaving what we do here with what's going on in the community. I think it just makes it a stronger community for everyone. One of the other things I want to say is when tours come up and kids come in, they're very interested in the environment and what are we doing as an industry to make sure that they have a future. So I at least wanted to mention and touch on that we are focusing a lot on those emerging trends that are green, the green hydrogen, the batteries for the electric cars, looking a lot into circularity, to ensure that our materials can be recycled and reused so that we don't fill up our landfills. Looking at lightweighting so that even for those vehicles and planes that don't use electric, that use gas, that they use less gas because they are lightweighted because of the polymers that we use. We're also still focusing and have in the past on healthcare. How do we keep our people, the people of the world safe? Certainly we do see that with a lot of our materials that are used in biomedical hip replacement, knee replacements, even on kidney dialysis. But I think the future looks very bright for Solvay. And the future looks very bright, certainly for Forsyth County. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna, for this wonderful presentation on Solvay as a key corporate citizen in Forsyth County. I want to thank my three panelists. We're going to come back to you at the end of the presentations at around 3:15 for a fireside Q&A, fireside chat Q&A. So please stay with us. We next turn it over to my colleague, Annie Agniotri, for session 3, A Future Forward. Annie?
Thank you, John. Excellent presentations. Really appreciate, very interesting material. I wish we had more time in Q&A session, so to say. Thank you, John. With this, I would like to welcome speakers for the third session. Let me share their bios. Great. So in the third session, we have Mr. Tim Ferguson. He's operations manager for Siemens Mobility. Tim has been in operations management for over 34 years and currently is head of factory for Siemens Mobility Alfreta factory since 2017. Tim has worked for Siemens since January 2011. Prior to Siemens, worked for companies such as Home Depot, Tractor Supply, Hitachi, and GE. Tim has a bachelor's degree in business administration with concentration of operations management from University of North Georgia and has proudly served in the U.S. Army for 6 years. Welcome, Tim. Our next speaker is Ms. Brooke Pervez. She's Community and Economic Development Manager for Metro North region of Georgia Power. We all know Georgia Power. Brooke joined Southern Company in 2009, facilitating process and technology transformation for one of the largest technological projects in Southern Company history. She worked to enable adoption and cultural integration of solutions across Southern Company's footprint. She joined the Community and Economic Development Organization in 2016 as Workforce Development Manager and has a deep passion for advocating and supporting our state's education and workforce efforts. She leads a team focused on 2 initiatives, improving education and workforce outcomes for Georgia and preparing a pipeline for the energy industry workforce. In 2019, she transitioned to the Regional Community and Economic Development Team, where she works with the key economic development partners in DeKalb, Forsyth, Gwinnett, Rockdale, and North Fulton counties to support industry and communities as they prepare for growth. She's a graduate of Leadership Sandy Springs, Georgia Academy of Economic Development, as well as Glance Gwinnett. She has held several external leadership positions, including UGA's Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication Alumni Board, Georgia's first robotics board, and chair of State's Energy Workforce Consortia, the Georgia Energy and Industrial Construction Consortia, GEICC. She's currently the incoming chair of the Georgia Leadership Institute for School Improvement. Brooke is a graduate of University of Georgia, Athens, with degrees in marketing and advertising with a minor in Spanish. Welcome, Brooke. Our next speaker is Mr. Slade Gullett. He's a VP Economic Development for Forward Forsyth, one of the sponsoring bodies organization for this program. Slade is the Vice President of Economic Development for the Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce. The business organization is the key point of contact for new and existing business expansions. Gullett is 1995 graduate of Kennesaw State University with a Bachelor of Science and Political Science and Government degree. Our last speaker of the day would be Mr. Trevin Dye. I've known Trevin for many, many years. He's Assistant Director of International Business Development for Japan External Trade Organization, also known as JETRO. Trevin currently serves as Assistant Director of International Business Development for the Japanese government at JETRO In this capacity, he seeks to identify and support foreign companies with interest and viability to enter the Japanese/Southeast Asian market, particularly related to physical expansion and international product placement and global branding. His charge is also to support Japanese firms seeking to establish partnerships or expand business abroad. Mr. Dai's diverse experience and expertise in the international luxury goods, services, and entertainment sector is highly regarded and sought after by private firms to advertise or to expand in Asia, Latin America, and Middle East, including corporate leadership of global luxury firms. Mr. Dai also serves as the chairman of Luxury Marketing Council of Atlanta, president of Together Global LLC consulting firm, and is academic in residence for the Open Class based in Paris, France. Mr. Dai also continues to be very active in numerous social, professional, and philanthropic endeavors domestically and internationally. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being part of it. We had some challenge to put together this event. And the biggest reason was that when you start something in the beginning of a year, it's very difficult to get people's attention. Everybody's busy and, traveling and whatnot and getting off from the year. But thank you. We are grateful to all of you. We have a fantastic program this session. So first of all, we'll start with Tim, Mr. Tim Ferguson.
Yes, thank you, Ani. If we could show the presentation.
Sure.
Okay, so this is a presentation I'll give you today is a little bit about, we'll start with a little bit about what we manufacture here for Siemens Mobility. In the Atlanta area, there are multiple Siemens businesses, and we're featuring our Alpharetta site today, which is primarily a mobility site, but also digital industries and Siemens Energy. If you could show the next slide, please. Represented here, you see some of the end product of what we manufacture. We do the traction drive components in our facility here in Alpharetta, Georgia, and then we ship them across country to Sacramento, California, where the cars and the locomotives that you see pictured here are done in final assembly. Some interesting facts about them. One light rail has the ability to replace 920 cars on the road today. Locomotives, we have more than 300 orders for locomotives since 2014. And that is an increasing, we see an increase in this business. And also with the advent of the infrastructure bill that's signing, we are seeing an increase in bookings for green technologies such as this mode of transportation for locomotives and light rail. The locomotives that we build support transport of people, not so much freight. The metros supplying external vehicle manufacturers. So we are expanding our business here in the factory to include external customers, which would be some of our competitors in the market as well, with our traction drive components. And then we have the high-speed market that the country is trying to move into North America with things such as Brightline. Next slide, please. To further look at the rail car, if you look at the components that we manufacture in this facility, there are about 8 different components to a traction drive system, and we make 4 of those components here in this factory and have plans to increase and add more of the components as we progress in time. The bogies and the bogie components, this is the heavy wheel sets that go on the bottom of the train that ride the rail. And we manufacture the traction gear units that makes up the motors and the gearboxes that drive the bogies as they move down the track. The traction converters that we build in our facility here, this is the electric engine, if you will. And then you can see the pantograph. We do not build those here yet, but that is what transfers the power from the street line into the converters and inverters that actually power the cars. The auxiliary power supplies we build in this factory, and those power the air conditioning and the lights and so forth, all the accessories that are inside of the locomotive car. Our largest contract that we have running is for the City of Chicago. So Chicago Transit Authority that's an ongoing project. And on the first slide or the second slide, you saw on the upper left a picture of the Atlanta streetcar. We're proud to have been a manufacturer of choice for the Atlanta streetcar here. Next slide, please. So the Siemens factory has been here in this location in Forsyth County since the late 80s. So over 30 years that we've been here. We have customer resource management, project management on this site. We've recently introduced in the past year, as we're increasing our competencies, we've added mechanical and electrical engineering. Siemens is one of those companies where the sun never sets on our engineering capacities, and that's now flowing through our organization here. Our shop floor area, we've got about 16,000 meters squared of space, or roughly 148,000 square feet of factory space. Currently have about 112 employees, and we do build buy American plants in our portfolio, as most of our customers are municipalities for cities and local governments. We are ISO 9001, 14001, and OSAS 18001, and have just transferred to ISO 45001. So EH&S or the environment and health and safety are very focused. We actually had a monthly event, and this monthly event was focused on health and safety, reporting near miss incidents was our focus of the day. And we thankfully, next week, we will surpass 4 years since our last injury reported. So this is a good record for us, and we're proud of, and continue to move forward in that. The highlights here is we've had the recent expansion. I highlighted the products that we build here, but motors and gear assemblies are the newest things that we've added in the last 2 years. We've added overhaul capabilities for the motors and gears for service returns in recent years. And we have the ability to meet both FRA and FTA Buy America requirements. We're a project-based business, so we do have PMP certified project managers. And we have pretty significant lifting capacities for some of the heavy equipment that we have in-house. And again, the strong safety record. So next slide, please. So in recent years, you can see where we've made about $5.6 million worth of investment, and we have about $1 million worth of investment that we are doing in this fiscal year. We are increasing our motor capabilities. Today, we do assembly of components that are brought in from Europe, but we're adding and increasing our capabilities for manufacturing here along a timeline, a path of development for our skill sets here. We have final gearbox manufacturing and testing equipment that we've put into place. Our standard test equipment allowing for local power module manufacturing. This is another thing we localized from our factories in Europe that reduced our international content somewhat. As I speak about international content, one of the reasons why this location was pretty important for us in development of our US site over 30 years ago was the airport. The airport, Atlanta Hartsville, is one of the largest, it is the busiest airport, again, as of recent results that they've shown. And it acts as an inland port. And so we have a lot of air freight that comes in through that method, and we have great service levels. It's just an hour and a half, 2 hour trip, depending traffic, to get material from the airport to us here. And we are extremely pleased about the new connection between Savannah and the city of Gainesville, which is just down the road from us, that we have a lot of container loads that will come in through that particular route. So this is a great enhancement for us here. One of the other things we've added to our capabilities, CMM, or coordinate measurement machine. We have a new Zeiss, state-of-the-art Zeiss machine that's in our facility to measure gears and castings and so forth that we have here. Our headcount is increasing. We are up to 122, and we have a budget planning meeting. They're asking, can we add more, and can we get more out this year for the load? So this is a good thing for us. And in the past 2 years, where a lot of organizations were reducing headcount due to the COVID responses, we have been hiring for this entire time. and continue to do so. The average tenure of an employee is about 13 years. We had 5 that retired in this past year, with the least of length of service being about 18 years. And one of the employees retired with 30 years of service here in this location. So they were here from the early times. We have about, I've heard several talk about diversity. We've got 28 different nationalities that are represented in our facility. So Forsyth County is absolutely a diverse population. We have some job programs that we do here and that we've partnered with, and we've been very successful in our expansions. We've been very successful in our increasing and our growth of our sales over the years, but this has only been possible by our work with the high school systems and the college systems, the technical schools. One of the programs we have that's internal is a Siemens production specialist. And this is a Lean Six Sigma specialist, if you will, that does Lean Six Sigma projects within our facilities. We have various green belts and black belts that graduate from this program. But our test apprenticeship program, this is something that we worked with Lanier Tech on and the Department of Labor to develop a test apprentice program, which was roughly 6,000 hours and 3 years worth of training that the individual went through, work hours here in our location and also hours in the classroom at Lanier Tech, getting the skills that they needed to become a certified test apprentice. This person graduated about 2 years ago and now is one of the most productive test technicians we have in the factory. We have a supervisor and training program that, again, that is something we do internal, but part of that training we tap into the certification skills, some leadership training skills that the local colleges offer to advance their skills and their training. And then the work-based learning program, this is something we've worked with the high schools on, and primarily South Forsyth High School for a manufacturing pathway. This was a 4-year program where 3 years there was classroom training at the school, and in the 4th year, a select group of students were allowed to come and work here as their classroom, if you will, and further expand on the knowledge that they learned in the manufacturing pathway trainings they had in the prior 3 years. Next slide, please. So I wanted again to wrap up with a view of the Atlanta streetcar. The thing that's very important of us in our environment here is during this really tough time, being able to be successful as an organization would not have been possible without the work that we've done with the local schools, the technical schools, the colleges. The chamber has been extraordinarily useful and helpful in helping us along the way as well, and making coordinations through the manufacturing societies and through the other works that they've done. We recently had a hiring event that we did that they helped arrange. That these are things that make us successful in our organization. And I'd say thank you and return it back to you, Ani.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. It's a very interesting presentation. I will have some questions later on. And with this, I would invite Ms. Brooke Perez to join us. Hi, Brooke.
Hey, good afternoon. Can you all hear me?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you are with us today.
Absolutely. Me too. Thank you for having me.
Great, great. So we would like to hear from you, your thoughts about Forsyth County and the region growth, and how do you envisage the future of the county?
Sure. So what I'll do in about the next 10 minutes, which is a lot to cover, is I'm going to talk big picture about what Georgia Power does in this space, so you all can understand my role and how I work with the communities. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about Forsyth. I'll say some good things, but I'm not going to steal the thunder from my colleague Slade Golich, who's really going to come in and give you the meat and potatoes of what's going on in the county. But the good news is Forsyth is in fantastic shape. We actually have a tool that we use, that we developed, called the County Index tool, that sort of looks at all the different parts and pieces of what makes a healthy community and economic development space. And I'll pop that in the chat to share with everybody. But Forsyth ranks really strongly in all of those areas. So there's a lot of good news. I've been to visit Tim. I've been to Siemens Mobility. It's an amazing facility. And before I start, I'll just say, you know, the folks you've heard from today, and even what you just heard Tim describe in the end about working with Lanier Tech, working with the school systems, working with the chamber, that's the magic that goes on in Forsyth County that contributes to the overall success. It's the small partnerships that really have the long-term impacts for citizens and industry. So there's a lot to celebrate there. So sorry for the long bio. I will send a short one next time, but I'm so excited to be with you all today. I do represent Georgia Power. I'm on our community and economic development team. So I cover 5 counties in the metro region, as you saw: North Fulton, DeKalb, Rockdale, Forsyth, and Gwinnett. And my job is to support those counties as they prepare for growth, and to support industry as industry is looking to stay here and be successful here in Metro Atlanta and in the state of Georgia. And we want them to grow here. And so what that looks like in Forsyth, hopefully, is staying in Forsyth and growing in Forsyth. But if it doesn't, then can we make sure that they stay here in Metro? Economic development is a team sport. So I work very, very closely with many of the folks that you've heard from today, folks you're going to hear from the Metro Atlanta Chamber, the Georgia Department of Economic Development, the Department of Labor, and Forward Forsyth. And what do we do to add value? We have a host of complementary products and services in research and engineering, and really kind of whatever you might need help with, whether that's when we worked with Tim, we looked at a workforce analysis to say, these are the gaps in the jobs you're trying to hire. Where does that workforce live? And how can we figure out to attract them and get them to Forsyth County? Yeah, we've also worked extensively in Forsyth doing site assessment. There's a lot of, not a lot, there is some good land left in Forsyth. Much of it is getting spoken for and used for great projects. But our engineering team can come in and do anything from a basic site assessment to say, hey, can I put this size building on this land? Will the topography support that? So on and so forth, to a full-blown rendering of what a building could look like and the associated costs. So you can imagine that goes a really long way if you've got an investor or you've got a company in Forsyth that's pitching maybe to their global board of directors about why they should do business there. We're a big part of that team. So I enjoy working in Forsyth. The Forward Forsyth public-private partnership is a really highly functioning model. So you'll hear Slade talk about that. And it's a great way to make sure that there is a single point of contact for existing industry and new projects to come into the county. You all know you're seeing some of the highest population growth. I heard Tim mention it, and I'm sure it's been talked about today, the diversity. And so that's a huge asset when you're looking at companies who are interested in having a diverse workforce. I think Tim said 25 different nationalities represented. That's really cool. And that's 25 unique perspectives that are going to be building the future of Siemens Mobility. Everybody wants that. Your school system is incredibly strong, one of the top in the state. Lots of folks wanted to come there in the pandemic because y'all mastered figuring out how to stay open and stay safe. And so it's a huge asset from the academy to the graduation rate that outpaces the state. And then on the flip side of that is the folks who live there are highly educated. You have the highest concentration of highly educated, advanced degree talent in the state and in the metro area. So there's a lot of really, really good stuff going on in Forsyth. You're a very healthy community. You've been awarded in that space over and over. So being outside and parks and trails and connectivity, which are a huge economic asset, are also very important to your community and contribute substantially to your quality of life. So I'll share that tool with you all. I'm happy to answer any specific questions, but that's a little bit about my role, what Georgia Power does in this space, how we work in Forsyth County, and what a fantastic, thriving economic engine that is being driven up that 400 corridor, and Forsyth is a huge part of that conversation.
Great. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you for that, your remarks, and we will get back to you during the Q&A session towards the end. With this, I would like to invite Slade to share his remarks with us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Ani. Appreciate it. Wanted to start out by echoing what Brooke had said. Economic development is a team sport. I say it often. And I wanted to take a minute to, again, underscore the team here in Forsyth County, the Forward Forsyth team. It's our community economic development partnership. You've seen many of the players on the screen today. And that partnership is comprised of the Forsyth County government, Forsyth County school system, the Development Authority of Forsyth County, Lanier Technical College, University of North Georgia, and the Forsyth Chamber of Commerce. Our team is centered around our 5-year economic development plan. And that plan is something that we are executing on daily. Our team at Forward Forsyth saw a huge surge in economic activity over the course of 2021, and we're off to an amazing start here in 2022. In 2021, we closed 34 projects as wins. A few of the highlights: Encompass Health. It's an expansion project for $11 million. Automation Direct, an expansion of $22 million. Amazon, an attraction of $70 million investment in our community. Home Depot Distribution, a $11.6 million attraction. Halcyon Office, a $9.5 and a $19.4 million investment in 2 office towers. One that is currently almost completed, and the other one that will be under construction soon, hopefully. That's the 60,000 foot tower and 130,000 square foot tower of Class A office space at an amenity at a mixed use development. Alameda Sciences, an attraction of 100 jobs and their headquarters, and Morgan Stanley, an attraction of 600 jobs. So we're very excited about those projects, and we're very, very excited about where we're heading in the future. About midway through the year last year, we started working on new product development because we were finding that a lot of the space that we thought we had available was getting leased up very quickly. A good problem to have, but still a problem nonetheless. So we started working directly. Our team worked directly with developers, the development community, to increase the amount of commercial product, both in office and in industrial space, that we would have available and to keep up with our project activity. We're very proud to announce that we've got over 1.2 million square foot of new office space currently in the planning and development stages. Again, these are opportunities. They're not completely executed yet, but they are opportunities. And industrial development, over 3 million square foot of industrial flex space that's in the pipeline to be completed. Partnership with Forsyth County government on deploying critical strategic infrastructure, sewer, was something that we worked on last year. We had several parcels in key areas of the community that were in need of some assistance in that regard to make commercial development viable. Our county worked with us using ARPA funding to do strategic infrastructure in those locations. This shows the commitment of our county and the leadership that they have and the way that they are focused on economic development and our economic development future. At the end of Q4 of last year, we were able to end the year by saying we had over $253 million in announced capital investment and over 1,800 jobs announced. We have 61 active projects currently, so the great future pipeline of opportunities, and we would love to count any of the companies on the call today as part of those future opportunities, and look forward to working with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Slade. That's very impressive with all the stats and current data. I'm sure we will get back to some of the questions towards the end. And with this, I would like to invite my colleague, Trevin Dye, Mr. Dye.
Hello to everyone, and thank you for the invitation. It's good to see everyone. So I know that the time is short, so I'd like to address 3 short things on a high level. The first would be why Georgia is attractive, and Georgia in the Southeast is attractive for the Japanese market or Japanese companies. The second would be new opportunities I've seen rise due to the pandemic or during the pandemic. And the third point would just be general oversight, some final insights actually for the JETRO side. So for those of you who don't know about JETRO, I thought I'd say a few words just about what we do and who we are. So JETRO is the investment arm of the Japanese government. So we're basically in place to help companies open physical offices in Japan. This could mean establishment or expansion of a physical location in Japan. So that's our main task, to help companies kind of mitigate the prices or the cost of going to Japan by themselves. So we have a full suite of resources for that to happen. In the Atlanta office, we cover 6 states in the Southeast. That would be Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, what's the other one? Oh, South Carolina and North Carolina. And so we have business development on one point. We are facilitating trade on the other side. We're helping place Japanese products, particularly agricultural products. Wagyu would be one, high-end sake, et cetera. Bringing them to the US market is something we're supporting right now. And the third piece would be local companies, local Japanese companies we support in the Southeast and in Georgia with any requests they might have or any challenge they might have. So part of this last point, to help facilitate our support with Japanese companies here in the Southeast, we conduct a survey, an annual survey for Japanese companies so that they can share their triumphs and challenges on an annual basis. And I can't share everything because of the time constraints, but I would like to share just a few of their insights relative to this topic on a higher level based on their feedback. So speaking about Japanese companies and what has traditionally attracted them to the US, particularly to Georgia and the Southeast, has been logistics, which I think has already been mentioned multiple times. The airport, of course, is a huge draw. Port access is another draw. And the regional highway system and how these basically ease the movement in the Southeast is a huge consideration for Japanese companies who continue to expand in the region. Less strict environmental restrictions has also been cited and regulations. The percentage of labor union activity is much lower and the wages are quite reasonable in Georgia and the Southeast. So that's another element that is often mentioned. Business and operational costs are quite reasonable and low relative to other places. And this focus has been mostly in regards to leasing and utilities costs for large scale facilities. So that's something that's kept Georgia very competitive from their perspective. Lower corporate taxes, in addition to better tax incentives, have also been cited. One thing that's kind of unique to Japanese companies that I did see mentioned was the communication that is facilitated with state representatives, especially in Japanese, which is something kind of unique to the corporations. Their questions and concerns can be addressed rather quickly in Japanese because there are some Japanese speakers, of course, in that department. And I think this command of language and culture makes them feel well taken care of. So that's something that they often mention. One last component I would say is the staffing and workforce piece. In our questionnaire, this is kind of something that's almost always in the top 2 of challenges in terms of finding specialized workers and finding, well, recruiting in general, training and retention, especially now where they're competing with, other companies that are offering better packages. At the same time, the Quick Start program, the relationships with tech programs and the university system is something that's very attractive for the Japanese companies who are looking to partner and or tap into those students. That's been mentioned a few times as well. So that's positioned Georgia very well from their perspective. Oh, and one other piece that wasn't in the questionnaire, but one that I have heard from other Japanese representatives is the fact that the region is so highly attractive for other big companies. Many of the Japanese companies don't really know much about Georgia. They barely know about the Southeast in general. So seeing other companies come into the region is something that draws their attention to the region in a way that wouldn't otherwise be possible. So I would also mention that as a great draw. Okay, so those are kind of the corporate attractive elements, but I would also mention that families, executive families and employees need their own support. So they need 360-degree support basically for uprooted families to the region. And that's one thing that's been very attractive from their standpoint as well. Legal support, legal assistance if there any problems arise. Insurance, especially healthcare insurance, is another big draw, especially if doctors take Japanese healthcare insurance and can also communicate in Japanese. That's something that's typically very attractive, considering a lot of the spouses might not have a high level of English. So that's one thing that's really great for them. Accessible community and other organizations like the Japan American Society, they have their own community support systems that keep things moving smoothly as well. And finally, this has been mentioned a few times, but I would say the great schools. Having access to great schools is another huge draw, especially since many of these students have to leave the region to go back to Japan and enter a very, very high level system, especially the university system. So they need to stay on top of all of their academic endeavors while they're here. So that's another thing that schools provide. Okay, so moving on to my pandemic insights. I know that we've all dealt with inconveniences and turmoil of the pandemic, but there have been some bright sides as well. As I mentioned earlier, JETRO is really focused on creating jobs in Japan for companies that are trying to expand physical office spaces. Therefore, we have not been as supportive, or companies that don't want to do that have not really been on our map in the past several years. The pandemic has turned that around because Japanese companies are actively looking for investment and partnership opportunities right now in non-traditional ways, many of them that they wouldn't have thought of before. So some categories might be fintech, which of course Atlanta is very well positioned, healthcare solutions in general, but especially because the aging population in Japan needs solutions that maybe they can find in the local market. So I'm seeing that a lot. Green energy, clean tech, I think was mentioned a little bit earlier. Zero or low impact technologies, those are great. And I guess one last one I would include is cyber security. But the whole gamut of tech applications are all attractive right now. The challenge has been putting companies together. So that's one thing we've been doing a little bit more, joining virtual workshops, webinars on a more grassroots level to present opportunities that exist. So I'd love to hear from other people about how that might be facilitated a little bit better. One other thing, just from a final JETRO standpoint, we've been focusing a lot more, as I said, on the tech industry or tech sector. Relative to Forsyth County, I think there's a lot that Forsyth County is offering that Japanese communities and Japanese companies don't know about. I'm hoping that once travel is a little more easily facilitated, I'd say, it would be great to possibly bring some delegations to the area so they can really see firsthand what's going on and how partnerships might be able to be taken advantage of. We also have something on the JETRO side or on the JETRO website where Japanese companies are starting to ask about business environments, physical environments, site location, insights for cost analysis, and they basically click on the larger cities to see, what the costs are like, all the elements that pertain to some of the things that I spoke about. So it would be nice maybe to expand that to include Forsyth County as well, so that can be something that they can begin to put on their radar. And I guess the last thing I would say is during this pandemic, I've also seen that there's a new approach to grassroots and kind of cross-pollination in a way that we wouldn't have seen before. I think there's a lot more dot connecting right now where people are not staying in their silos quite as much and they see that value can be added in places that were overlooked before. Of course, there are new initiatives, but we're also going back to other organizations that we are learning more about to kind of fill in the gaps of what we could have been doing before. So I'm seeing more of that right now. And I think Forsyth is positioned to make that happen for us a little bit more. And Jetro, of course, stands ready to help in any way we can as well. One last thing, a lot of this information, or at least the early information, has come from the survey. As I said, I couldn't, address everything, but hopefully I can at least make the document available, the latest document and survey for everyone to see, because it is several pages long. So at some point, I'd like to maybe send it to you guys, and you can take a closer look to see what's relevant for you guys as you need it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, Trevin. Really appreciate your remarks. And I have made down some questions here, noted down. And I think I would invite Dr. McIntyre, or he's here. So I know you are going to have a field day with questions, Dr. McIntyre. You have plenty of time now. So let's start with you. We cannot hear you.
You're muted.
Unforgivable for someone who uses this technology day in, day out. Yes, I'm biting my tongue. That's probably why I was muted, to really limit the number of questions I have and leave time for the others.
Right.
First of all, let me thank my old friend Trevin Dye. I haven't seen in so many years.
Yes, it's been a long time.
Trevin, I go back in Georgia to the days of the Governor Busby when I was a young PhD student at UGA, and we worked with his staff. And the Japanese were the first, really, maybe the Belgians first, but the Japanese were the first major corporate presence in Georgia in the 70s. I think the other day you mentioned there are 500 Japanese establishments in the state of Georgia, which is really an impressive number.
Yes.
Am I correct? It's not a question, but just an offside kind of remark.
Yes, and that includes even the smallest. That's the whole breadth of them. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we are in the far side chat. I see no fire, and I see a beautiful sun outside. So I assume you want to stay on time. So my first question, bearing in mind that I lead off with questions, we turn it over to Alex and then Ani, and then Jim Hoadley will give us questions from the audience. My first question is future oriented. So generically speaking, what are future trends in economic development all over the world? And I guess that would be more addressed to Adam, who kind of surveys and canvasses just about all of the major economic development actors globally and certainly in the US. And then relatedly, my second question would be to Alex and Chairman John, and I guess Tim and any of the other excellent panelists. What's the future? What does the future hold for Forsyth County? And how much of a model can you be for other Georgia counties to really replicate some of the major achievements you have done over the last 20 or so years? Or we'll even go back to Tim's early years when he was growing up in Forsyth County in the 60s, or was it the 70s, maybe? So these are my two questions, and then turn it over to the next person.
Great. Adam?
Well, I'm happy to report that I'm consulting my own publication to answer your question.
It's in there.
Every year we conduct a site selectors survey for our January issue, which we just published with this beautiful cover by my colleague Bob Gravely. And so there are results from that. I will do a brief summary here, and I'll put the link to that actual story into the chat for everyone. And Ron Starner, our EVP, who wrote the piece and summarized the findings as a numbered list of the big takeaways. So I will say overall, we asked consultants whether their corporate clients expected to expand their facilities or consolidate them or stay about the same in 2021. Almost 70% said they plan to expand. Which industry sectors are the most active? Distribution and logistics, no surprise. The next most active, biomedical healthcare, and then advanced manufacturing and finance, insurance, real estate, the FIRE acronym. The Southeast has done the most to improve its overall business climate in recent years. followed by the Midwest and the Southwest. We asked how COVID is affecting the global facility location decisions of clients. 71% of clients are considering more reshoring projects. I've had kind of contrasting viewpoints on that, where some say that reshoring is a mirage, and others say no, it's quite real possibility for our company. And I think it's just a matter of a time lag there. Among the big takeaways were the Sun Belt states are maintaining their status as the most favored business climates in the nation. Suburban and rural communities will benefit as more employers look outside of large central cities to establish new workplace hubs. And that remote working has become a permanent part of the new work landscape. I realize this is mainly national results and not international, John, but that's the best I've got for you right now.
Thank you so much, Adam. I knew you had something up your sleeve to answer that question. So great job. And perhaps we can direct the same questions to Chairman John, Alex, Tim, and even Brooke, because you've got the statewide and industry-wide perspective as a major economic development actor, as a major utility throughout the South. So what's the future for Forsyth County?
John, thank you. I'll allow Alex to go into some of the details, but as was just mentioned, reshoring is something that we have been focusing on. While companies are considering it, what we have to do is lay out the groundwork or create the environment for companies to look at Forsyth County for that. So in the last 2 years, for example, a year and a half, in my area, about 350,000 square feet of flex space was created. As one was about 150,000 square foot facility, and that got snapped up immediately by a national company that consolidated all of its operations to Forsyth County. The other one was 135 square foot space. Again, a national company came in and took over all the space. The third one also, I think, was about 125,000, also got picked up very quickly. So on the back of that success, we are seeing now 1 million square feet of flex space coming up right off of Georgia 400. So ingress and egress is great. So we're already thinking forward and creating that environment. Excuse me. One of the other things that I'd like to mention is Georgia, and more specifically Atlanta, or the metro Atlanta area, has a very temperate climate. So we don't have the extremes of weather, the heavy snow or the winds or fires, earthquakes, as some other states might have. So, what we've seen is stability in that sense. And a lot of companies on the West Coast and the Northeast are looking at redundancy plans and looking to places like Georgia. So again, we are looking at all of those options, and I'll leave it to Alex Warner for some of the details.
Thank you, Commissioner John. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what we've done to get us to the point we're at today, and then I'm going to turn it over to the VP of Economic Development, Slade Gullidge, because he's actually working with our steering committee now on the future plans and the new strategic plan that we're working on for Forsyth County. But back in 2017 and adopted in 2019, the Forward Forsyth Steering Committee, they adopted our 5-year economic development strategic plan to give us some sort of direction on what we need to focus on to help grow Forsyth County in the vision that the county, the development authority, the school system, and all the colleges and universities see us going, and what we can do to best serve the constituents and workforce that's currently living in Forsyth. And with that, one of the major pillars in it was to make sure that we're taking care of the existing industry within the county. Meeting with Tim Ferguson with Siemens, holding the hand of Adonna Drake, and making sure that all of the expansion plans, because she mentioned one, but that's 1 of 5 within the last couple of years. So whatever we can do to help grow our top employers that are actively employing the people that live in the community, and then working with the school system to make sure that, as Kristen dove into very good details about all of the career-ready programming that Forsyth County schools offer, but is it career-ready programming for businesses that are currently operating in Forsyth County? And so we're making sure that these relationships are being had and that the students out of Forsyth County schools are actually coming out with the education that could easily just pick them up and put them into a job-ready program with one of our major employers. And so, but then also in that was, what can we do to make ourselves not a migrant community? What can we do to get some of this workforce that's actively leaving Forsyth County every day to stay and work here? And this, I mean, it's a little bit convoluted to think about, but COVID could have possibly been a blessing to Forsyth County, and the fact that all of a sudden our workforce didn't have to leave every day. And when we were actively seeking out these major employers to grow within the county, the educated workforce automatically was there and was able to not have to drive an hour to work every day. And so it's been a whirlwind of a couple of years. And as Slade showed our numbers from last year, it's been quite record breaking in the amount of economic development that we're able to put out. But that's just the strategic plan that was adopted by some really smart people a couple of years ago. I'm going to turn it over to a really smart person to tell you what we're going to do from here on out.
I'm not that smart, but thank you, Alex. But we have had a tremendous amount of success here in Forsyth County over the last several years. The economic development plan has been a huge part of that. The economic development partnership of Forsyth has been a tremendous part of that. Where we go from here, we know that the community is going to probably double our population by 2040. So how are we going to plan for that? The county, to their credit, is doing an update on their comp plan right now. So that is going forward. We will have a new 5-year economic development plan. What that holds, that is in the future, that is to be determined. We're about 3.5 years into this 5-year plan. But I do know one thing is that we have a dynamic community here. We have a lot of opportunity, and the fantastic school system that continues to produce excellent talent that is going somewhere else to get educated. We want to make sure that we have a wonderful community for them to come back to raise their family, to keep that cycle going, to make sure that we don't lose all that homegrown product and we attract them back to Forsyth County.
Great.
I had a subsequent question for Brooke Bears with Georgia Power. The cost of energy in the South and in Georgia has always been, I used to do a lot of consulting for Japanese firms coming here, Trevin, way back. That factor was always a very important one for foreign firms in coming to Georgia and the Southeast in general. And I know that Georgia Power is a leader in nuclear-based energy, actually, one of the few, if not the only one in the United States. Tell us more about the cost of energy, what you foresee, because I mean, this is sort of the electrical spark that leads to just about any other operation, intermediary or final.
Great. Well, I loved your pronunciation of Pittis, and go dogs, Dr. McIntyre. Sí, claro. Happy to answer that question. You know, think about my role, right? My role and my colleagues, we've been in this business for over 100 years, right? Working with Adam's organization and peers and others to attract business in the Southeast, because we were building the infrastructure, right? Or we needed more investors to come down here so we could keep building the infrastructure. So fast forward to today, and I've heard a few things. You know, number one, we still have, we used to could say well below average. We're below average. So some, you know, the cost of building and maintaining that infrastructure has caught up a little bit with our peers across the country, but we absolutely still deliver safe, clean, affordable, reliable energy at below average. And we are regulated by rates across the country, that is. We are regulated by the Public Service Commission, but within that regulatory environment, we have a lot of flexibility in terms of the rate structures we can offer our customers. So for all of you that are wondering if I get a rate discount at home, I don't. But we work with each business to understand what their use looks like, what their peak use looks like, and then help come up with a structure that makes sure that we're being fair and ethical in terms of our ratepayers and our regulatory environment, but also is advantageous for a pro-business climate. And so we continue to be flexible and creative in that space to make sure that the utility bill is not an burdensome part of doing business. And I think that's another thing that speaks to Georgia is just the pro-business climate we have in general. We've had a long line of leadership that has sort of enabled those conditions. And I think that's what you see in Forsyth County. And that's what you're seeing across our state that's allowing us to really receive a lot of the growth. Then the last thing I'll say about that is, our customers, and I've heard it here, and many of you are much more demanding about where their energy comes from. So it's not just how much is it, but they want it to be clean. They want renewables. They want carbon footprint, data and impacts. And so that's something that our holding company, Southern Company, has been very forward thinking of. We've stayed out ahead of any regulatory EPA, EPD environment. We have our goals. And absolutely, we're building 2 new nuclear units, 3 and 4 over in Augusta. We're the only ones in the United States. That's complicated stuff. Nobody's done it in a long time. And the technology has changed, and the company we worked with had some struggles, but we are getting close to the finish line. And that is absolutely a part of the mix to keep our energy mix heading towards a clean, renewable direction, while also keeping it safe, affordable, and reliable. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you sure did. Thank you. I have a question that I would be remiss if I did not mention. Really more directed at Kristen, Tim, and Slade. Wouldn't it be great if Forsyth County could attract some aspect of chip manufacturing, upstream or downstream? I think the state of Arizona, Adam, just announced that it was receiving from Taipei, from Taiwan, a chip manufacturing facility. I forget the size, but I do think it was close to $100 billion investment plus. Nah,
it's double-digit billion in Arizona, and then Intel has just committed to, I believe, 20 billion in Central Ohio, in the Columbus.
Okay, so it's a trend. But Chip, you mentioned that you had an understanding or a working relationship with Georgia Tech on chip-related research. I didn't quite catch it. I read something about it, or IT, chip IT. And I think, Kristen, you mentioned that the school system offers training relating to information technology. And Slade, I guess, in terms of your next challenge would be to attract a chip manufacturer to Forsyth County. I'm wondering if all 3 of you could address that.
Oh, I want to jump in on that because you're talking my language here. Back in the day, I went to school for microelectronic engineering. So that is definitely, that was definitely in my wheelhouse at the time. So I definitely think that's something we should look for and bring to Forsyth County. We do have mechatronics at our Alliance Academy, which definitely touches in that area. So I would love to see us bring that to this community. I think it would be well received. And I think it's something we have that talent to bring, not only from our students, but some of our teachers as well. So let's work on that. I think that should be a priority for sure.
I'll jump in next. The Technical College System of Georgia has partnered and signed an agreement with Georgia Tech to do the research on chip manufacturing. Lanier Tech has joined that consortium. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the technician level, those folks that are going to be in the clean room actually producing chips, that's going to be in our wheelhouse. I would be very surprised if some of that technology and training was not provided by Georgia Quick Start at some point in the future. So it's certainly on our radar, and thanks to Georgia Tech for including us and seeing the value of, the technician level training. Was the bulk of the folks that are going to be manufacturing the chips are going to be the technician level, and it's going to be so important that we have those skill sets, so they just go right in and 100% quality coming out of the chip manufacturers. And And I won't speak for Slade, but I think this is just exactly the targeted group that Forsyth County is looking for.
This is
I think Slade, your work is cut out.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's a high bar. But you know, this is exactly in our target industries that we would love to locate here in Forsyth County. And I think that we have the current and certainly the future workforce with the training that Tim's doing and what they're doing at the local schools here and our schools, fantastic school system, to absolutely land a project like that. So we'll put the shoulder to the wheel and get to work on that.
Great, wonderful.
Thank you very much, Annie. I'm turning it over to you. It's now 3:22.
Right. You know,
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone, all speakers for fantastic presentations and remarks, but I would like to also talk about some challenges, you know, which we are seeing in the, I would say, post-COVID period, in terms of skill shortages, in terms of, you know, the future, what you're seeing, let's say from the vantage point of Chairman John, what challenges do you envisage from 10 to 20 years for Forsyth County?
It's a good question. You know, it was mentioned about Arizona, and Arizona benefits from its proximity to California.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I felt California has over the state of Georgia is its excellent colleges and university system. They drive a lot of the investment and growth because there's great talent that comes out of UCLA, UC Berkeley. So, you know, in Georgia, I would like to see Georgia Tech and other technical colleges or technical universities grow, plant other satellite campuses. I'm keenly interested in a satellite campus of Georgia Tech coming to Forsyth County, and I've spoken to a number of people about that. Again, that then, you know, creates incubators. The University of North Georgia actually has one of the highest rated, if not the best cybersecurity programs in the country. So, and that's fairly new. So we're hoping that, you know, we continue to grow that, expand it, market it, and then allow that to, push businesses to grow. So from our perspective, it really comes down to talent. You know, we have the right people to manage the infrastructure. We have the right people to manage the growth wisely, but talent is always going to be something that we have to look forward to, and then that we have to continue to grow.
Right. Thank you. And some time back, there was a mention of about reshoring of industries. You know, I run a small manufacturing company. We don't do any manufacturing per se in Georgia, but we import CNC machines from India and trying to market it here. Now, in terms of, and I believe it was Adam who said that, you know, about the reshoring idea, especially in areas like manufacturing, it could be a mirage or it could be reality. There are a lot of rules and regulations, federal, labor. So I would like all of you to take this question, how feasible it is for us to be a destination for reshoring of industries.
I'll jump in.
Yeah, textile comes to mind, technical textile. Anyway.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brooke, please.
I was just going to say big picture, and the rest of the panel may have some specific things. Absolutely. You know, even just thinking philosophically about just in time, things that require longer lead times. So we're seeing really creative things around specific industries, even around 3D printing and other advancements in technology to sort of satisfy the middle zone, right? Because we don't have enough space to onshore everything, to make it here and to store it here, potentially. And so there's got to be a balance. And so I think what you're going to see is acceleration in technology use to sort of fill the gap where we can't onshore and store. And then absolutely some of those things that folks are gonna, you know, have sitting in a warehouse somewhere, and the power industry included, the things that we're struggling with in terms of supply chain. So that's kind of a global view.
Mm-hmm. All right,
I would like to mention the name of Harry Moser, M-O-S-E-R. We had him as a speaker. He is the great apostle in the United States of reshoring, particularly in manufacturing. Look him up and you'll get a lot of questions and some answers.
Right, exactly. Alex, any question from your side as a moderator?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. And mine's going to be more directed toward Adam and Trevin. And just to talk about the future growth in a couple of our existing companies that are here in Forsyth. We've got LGMRI, and they've got a sub company bouncing off of them, specializing in IT and smart cities initiatives. Trevin, for you and your international perspective, what are you seeing for international businesses to jump into local communities on smart cities? And then Adam, what are you seeing in the future across not just the Southeast, but nationally on cutting edge communities coming out in the forefront in the smart cities stage?
One thing I can say is JETRO's been focused on smart cities recently. We have a full program trying to do just what you're suggesting, bring international companies, specifically Japanese companies, into those spaces. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of money, they're holding a lot of money for just that type of project. So it's really more about how we connect the dots for those two companies and just make them aware of what's happening. Ideally, as I said, it would be great to have those companies visit and really, see companies face to face. There was even a pitch recently for kind of a Shark Tank type of platform for those types of companies in tech that want to get involved and look for Japanese investment. So I think one step for us would be to kind of speak more maybe offline about what those companies are looking for and what their capabilities are, and get them in front of potential investors from the Japanese side, because they're definitely interested in that, smart city and other technologies. So to the extent that we can put a package together to kind of present to them what's available and where the trends are going, I think that would be to everybody's advantage. So they're really waiting for that type of opportunity, I guess is the closest or the easiest answer. So
that's great.
Yeah.
And I can see Brooke ready to jump out of her shoes. Georgia Power will do whatever they can do to assist that collaboration as well. So,
yeah, let's definitely talk about that sometime.
I think from my perspective, just covering it nationally and internationally, certainly there's more advanced smart city concepts and real action on the ground in Japan, in European countries and communities, just that are helped along by dint of the smaller geographies they have to deal with, right? It's easier to develop a smart city concept when you only have so many square kilometers to deal with. But it's interesting, we are based here in Peachtree Corners in Gwinnett, and they've moved forward pretty fast with their Curiosity Lab idea. And on the very day that they first announced it, way back when I went over to City Hall to cover it, almost the same day, there was a similar testing environment type of announcement happening with the same communications companies up in Greenville. And so I think it's also helpful to think of it as a smart region approach or a smart corridor approach. It's not that hard to see forward a decade or two to the long smart corridor between here and Charlotte. And that is a way to think about it when talking to these companies.
No, I completely agree. And somebody in the chat had mentioned the intermodals and the future of those in collaboration with the Smart Cities Initiative could be something pretty outstanding. Ani, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
There are
Now,
probably some questions on the chat.
yes, Jim, that's where I was going. Jim?
The questions that did appear in chat were generally answered in chat already, so there's not really any outstanding ones.
Do you have any question, Jim?
I guess I would ask buddy, do you think, this is a question that I asked to my undergrads, do you think that foreign direct investment overall is in an upward trend, plateauing, or in decline?
Okay, and sorry, what was forward direct investment?
Foreign direct investment overall, is it in an upward trend? Is it plateauing, or is it in decline?
Okay, great. Good question. Any takers on that? I guess if John, Dr. McIntyre has to answer, you and he can have a
Yes.
conversation on
I
that.
can tell you that there is and I don't know if you've seen it yet, Jim, but I think the most recent UNCTAD report is only 8 days old.
Yeah, it just came out. I have not looked at it yet.
Right.
But I think the trend has been upwards. I mean, in the wake of when, assuming we're out of the woods or getting there, but a lot of it has been going to Asia. If you're looking at global foreign direct investment outbound, Jim, a lot of it is going to Asia, to certain destinations that have pent-up market opportunities, not so much to emerging markets where risks are still considered high. Now, the US still remains the primary, the most attractive location for foreign investment, I think. Looking at the case of Forsyth County, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm turning it over to Alex. You have about 75 international companies located in the counties. And I think you've got a lot of potential to increase that, whether it's an expanding project, greenfield or brownfield, or an attraction, a new project, de novo. I might ask you, how do you attract foreign investors in Forsyth County? The city of Atlanta is quite aggressive, but it's really hard for the city of Atlanta to attract manufacturing investment. I mean, after all, it's a very urban environment, but you've got all the necessary components and ingredients to really attract manufacturing, upstream, downstream operations. So what do? Do you basically team up with the Georgia Economic Development and the network of 14 or so representative offices of the state of Georgia outside? Or do you hire consultants? Or do you target specific international firms? How do you go about it?
So we definitely utilize our partners all across the Metro Atlanta region. We partner with Georgia Power, but we also team up with the Metro Atlanta Chamber and their large international offices and the presence that they have globally. But then we also do a monthly familiarization tour with our Georgia Department of Economic Development project managers and their colleagues in international offices as well, to let them know growth potential that we have on existing international businesses within Forsyth currently, but then also make sure that they're aware of any greenfield or strategic parcels that we're trying to get infrastructure and growth to help grow that manufacturing base.
Great. So I have a question to Tim and Preston, and this may not be directly related with Forsyth, but in general, it would be of interest. The technology is changing at a rapid pace. And I think one of you mentioned that you have a program where you are basically, the aging population of worker, which is going to be retiring pretty soon, and you want to build a model or something like that. I would like to hear your thoughts on that, how you're preparing it.
So I was the one that mentioned it. So Georgia Tech is looking at a grant through the National Science Foundation to look at some technologies to transfer those skills from the older workers to the younger one. Some of the things we're thinking about is, very interactive audio video. And I'm going to use a welder, for instance, welding, key component to our economy, key component to Georgia Power as they were building out the nuclear power plant. Well, the way it's traditionally learned is, the student watches the demo, they perform the demo, and then the instructor it's easy for me to say, gives the feedback, the assessment, critiques it. So one of the things that we want to look at and see if it's feasible, can we put a camera, can we put audio in a welding helmet, and the instructor is observing real time, and the student can respond real time to things like art gap, angle, things of that nature. And we have increased the number of simulators that we actually use and simulated software. So that's one of the technologies we've gotten into. And really, it was the COVID pandemic that kind of forced us into that simulation. We're a technical college. We're skills based, and you know, in order to develop a skill, you have to practice that skill. And when we closed down for the pandemic and sent all of our students home for about 3 months, we had to get some tools for those students to continue to work with. So I think simulation, we're looking very heavily at virtual reality. I mentioned our industrial ammonia refrigeration. We're working with a small development group to develop some virtual reality training for industrial ammonia refrigeration technicians, so that you know, they don't have to necessarily come to our campus to get that training. And you know, some of the studies coming out that virtual reality is becoming a very valuable tool as we move forward. Heavy equipment operators, you know, you can't put a 16-year-old on a backhoe. It just doesn't work. But if you had that simulated technology, then you know, they can get that. And we're all about helping young people find their passions. I'm convinced that we're all born with a gift or gifts, and the happiest people in the world are the ones that use those gifts every day in their career. So I think we're going to see a lot more virtual reality, augmented reality. Ani, does that answer your question?
But a related question is this, that we all know that the working population is aging very fast. And at the same time, we have advent of new technologies like AI and VR and, you know, cybersecurity related. And also, what is the marry, Kristen? How are you going to cope up with these kind of two scenarios and down the road from 10 years from now?
Well, the aging population, I actually, as far as losing those experts in the industry, I touched on it a little bit, but I actually think that's a gain for the school system, because those experts in the industry, we want to hire those people. We want to get them into our building because they might be retiring from their business, but we can hire those people as staff in our building and become part-time teachers. And what we've done, because there's such a need for those industry experts, is we've created a program in-house where we can train them, because they're not certified teachers, but they're experts in perhaps engineering or aerospace. And those are those high-tech fields that are positions as a teacher. They're very difficult for us to fill because it's so state-of-the-art. So we now have created a program in-house where we can hire those industry experts, bring them in, and they can start working underneath direct guidance, but then we train them in-house to get them that certification along the way. So we're getting that, you know, years, 20, 30, 40 years of knowledge, but they're teaching our students at the same time. But we also have the technology in-house to work with them. So to us, that's an aging population is a win, because we get that expertise in our school system right away. So to us, that's an actual benefit. You always have to find a good way to make something out of it. It might be perceived as not good, but the technology, I think we continue to work with our state representatives. We have Representative Todd Jones, who is an incredibly forward-thinking person, especially when it comes to like EV, for example. So we continue to work with them to make sure that we can be involved in pilot programs. So keep the funding there, keep opportunities to try different experiments with technology. We have state-of-the-art equipment with aerospace, for example. So when we were talking about microelectronics earlier, we have to make sure that we have the facilities that are kept up to date. So we make sure with our models of funding and capital improvements that we're always trying to get the latest equipment that's out there so that we are creating the programs that are in need. So you have to constantly reinvest into the schools to make them stay current. So you can't just, you know, complete a project and think you're done for 5 years. No, you always have to be looking ahead what's next. We don't know what our students that are in school now, the jobs that they're going to have, they don't even exist right now. So we just have to always be planning for the future that we don't know exists. So it's a lot of planning and forward thinking.
Right. Thank you. Dr. McIntyre, on to you, sir.
Yes, one of the generic challenges, many of us compete for federal funds through grants and the like, and are recipient of these funds. One of the challenges, it's not so much in terms of justifying why there is a need for such grants, in economic development or fundamental research or whatever. It's really showing going beyond bean counting in terms of the results and the impact into outcomes. How do you translate an economic development grant into actually job creations? And I think you guys in economic development would do a far better job than those of us in academia, in research academia, closely linked to industry issues, of course. Do you have some suggestions in terms of justifying the impact of all these efforts, whether it be in a school system, in a technical college, in an economic development office, translating federal or state funds into actual results that can be presented to the legislature, Congress, or other agencies that are making funding decisions?
So I'll jump in on that a little bit as, so I worked in this space for 4 years for Georgia Power in the state of Georgia. So workforce development and the birth to work pipeline is really near and dear to my heart. And what I will just say, and my 2 cents to that, is it has to be industry-led and employer-led, because all of that funding and the constraints around workforce dollars, Department of Labor, our school systems, industry has to lead the way. And industry has to be at the table with 3rd graders. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but that's where the conversations start, to get them to think about industries, as Kristen mentioned, industries, not jobs, because we don't know what the jobs for the 3rd graders will be, but industries, particularly for underserved communities, communities of color, and so on. So I've beaten that drum loud and clear, because if private industry gets involved and demands it, then the legislation and the funds will follow. So that's my 2 cents.
Anybody else on the in terms of justifying the funding in terms of outcomes? You know, job creation being the magic metric. Tim, you probably do a lot of that. I mean, you say that all of your graduates get a job. I mean, I wish we could say that.
Well, there you go. There was a question in the chat, and I think it did get answered, but Lanier Tech and all the technical colleges track our graduates and a year out, and we check for employment. And I am so proud to say over the last 6 years, our graduation or employment of our graduates, 98+%. Several years, it's 100% job placement. Now that's just going to work. Our graduates have a job. The more impressive statistic is we're better than 90% year to year in field job placement, meaning that our graduates are going to work in the field in which they've studied and graduated. So, and the technical college system across the state, very similar. I will say this, Lanier Tech does enjoy their place high in that ranking, but again, it goes back to the point, most of our students have found their talent, their skill, their gift, so they're interested in what they're doing. They have chosen a career. They came to Lanier Tech for one reason typically, and that's to get a skill to go to work. So that piece, and to your point, Dr. McIntyre, on funding, we work a lot with the Georgia Mountains Regional Commission, WorkSource Georgia Mountains. We supply a lot of training through grants on through them. Alex has been a great partner there as well. And they track the metrics. They have to report the metrics, whether it's job creation, job retention, or upskilling or job growth. So the data is out there. It's just how do we capture it all, pull it all together, and turn it into a message that that the legislators can understand. I will tell you, you show any legislature that you've had 10% job growth in the district, and they can get very, very excited about that. So sure. To your point, I think maybe just getting with all the partners and take a look at the data and see if we can paint a picture with that data.
Thank you very much. I think you have answered my question, and it's a tough question. I think, Annie, we've reached the end.
Yes, yeah, indeed. And I want to thank all the speakers, all the sponsors, especially Forward Forsyth and Georgia Tech CIBER for helping us to put together this program. We would like to build on this as we have done historically. We would come up with something new and suggest, take your help and support to grow the program. And thank you. We have recorded this session. We will give us about 5-6 business days to send you an edited version of it for your use or circulation. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much. And really, we look forward to meeting you in person soon when the occasion arises.
With this, I would like, with your permission, I'm going to signing it off for everybody. Thanks,
Yes.
Alex. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ani. Thank you, John.
Thank you,
everybody.
Alex and Chairman John.
Bye now. Signing out.
Thank you, Adam.